Every child is an artist. The problem is staying an artist when you grow up. That was a quote from Pablo Picasso. And I certainly have felt this throughout my adult life and through my adolescence, in that my creativity that I've rediscovered recently has been suppressed most of my life, not due to anything other than just external factors and societal expectations. And I think part of what's important is to understand what we define as creativity, or what other people see creativity as, versus what it actually is. And I will be getting into that as I continue kind of going through this. But my expression of creativity has been suppressed pretty much my entire life, and I know many other people that have struggled with this, that want to be creative, but they judge themselves super harshly because of the programming that has been put into their head since, basically birth, for a lot of it. And it's really hard because you know how much joy, or you see how much joy it's giving other people to be able to express themselves through whatever avenues, or whatever creative avenues those are. But the other struggle is it throws out an entire perspective of the world, multiple perspectives of the world, and leads to more suffering because you don't have the skill to be able to look at things in unique ways that might actually give you a solution to a lot of your problems. And so when that creativity, that part of us that wants to express who we are, is suppressed, it also leads to other problems, such as suppressing, your emotional health. And it can affect your relationship. So it's not like it's just creative thing. Like, this actually does affect the rest of your life if you can't express who you actually are, or who you truly want to be based on the values that you have. So a story that sticks out to me is whenever I was in high school. So I played sports through high school, through college, and my favorite class, one of my high school years, I think it was my junior year, was an art class. And of course, I remember going in there and I would actually try. I would really want to, because I've always, for whatever reason, enjoyed just creating things. I've never been great at it, never been that good, but I still enjoyed it. And I remember, I'd always get, I'd always get shit because I was, quote unquote, trying too hard. And, I remember one of the pieces I was most proud of was it was chalk on just black construction paper, and I did a skeleton or a skull or something, but how it looked kind of like a ghost as well. I was really proud of it. And it sucked because all I did was get shit on it. For trying too hard in art class, and that's lame, dude, blah blah blah. And I know I'm not the only one that's experienced something like that. A lot of other people do. And those moments in our childhood, adolescence, when we're developing, they mold who we are today until you realize it. You may not at the time, but that molded my opinions on being creative and trying to do creative things. And it wasn't until after I got out of college and started, trying to figure out my own shit with the world, what I really wanted to do, and that's whenever I realized how much of a problem it was, because I hadn't learned how to be creative. I'd forgotten it, because your brain, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I hadn't used it. So I had to work to kind of get back into that mode where I could start to think differently. And I think it's important first, if you are want to be a more creative person, just in general, in every part of your life, it's important to understand and have a definition of what creativity actually is. So a lot of people will think that creativity is all art or music or the super flamboyant stuff that you see in pop culture. But I went to Google just to get a simple definition, and whenever I typed in what is creativity, it's the tendency to generate and recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems and communicating with others. So first, that automatically reframes what creativity is entirely. So creativity isn't just art or music. It's coming up with something new. And it doesn't have to be innovative or anything. It's just connecting ideas and connecting things from one to the other. And how can that be useful for someone else? Or how can that express more of what I'm feeling? How does that help me communicate what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing to others? And so we've been conditioned to think that it's all art. and music and coming up with this mind-blowing thing that everybody just loves, and that it's reserved for this specific type of person, the person that from birth has always just been amazing at drawing or done all of these great like creative things. But it's really just creating something new, like remixing ideas, remixing, art pieces that you see and maybe combining things. Like it's not black and white, it's gray. And if you look at a lot of the like great philosophers, so like I think it was, Ralph Waldo Emerson, he influenced like, so Nietzsche, Henry David Thoreau, I guess that's how you say it. Yeah, that's how you say it. But like they were influenced from the writings of Emerson. And Emerson was influenced from the writings of, the church and, other people before him. So even the most well-known like creatives, novelists, like philosophers, they take influence from other people. So nothing is 100% original. And I think that's one of the big misconceptions behind creativity, is that like everything has to be 100% original. You can't have, taken things from like inspiration from other things. Like that's where we really fuck ourselves up, because most of us, we're not going to be able to create something just world breaking, like brand new from scratch. But we can take inspiration, and inspiration is available literally everywhere. If you just live life, you will be inspired. I know like some of the t-shirt designs that I like to do, like I will see a billboard or an ad somewhere or some other image and then be like, yo, I think that would be cool on a shirt. I just want to put it on and see what it looks like. So a lot of times like we get stifled because it's not 100% creative, 100% original. But then we have the thought of, nobody cares what I have to say, so why would they care about what I have to make or what I have to put out in the world? And that is 100% true. However, rather than looking at it from the perspective of like, nobody cares, so what's the point? Look at it as, nobody cares, so I can do whatever I want, put out whatever I want with no repercussions. If it's good, it will be received and people will take it. If it sucks, nobody's probably going to see it anyway. And not only that, like if they see it and they think it sucks, they will think about it for a literal 5 seconds. Think about something you don't like. You think about it for like like you see a shirt, you're like, that sucks. You think about it for 5 seconds. You never think about that thing again. That's also what other people are doing. So there is literally a win-win in each scenario. So if you're like an artist and you're trying to get your stuff out, if something pops off, that means it's good. If it doesn't, oh well, nobody saw it anyway, so I might as well just keep creating. And so most of us end up coming around and like, even then, it's like, okay, well, you can't make money from creativity. But if creativity is what builds massive companies, creativity is what started the Renaissance, like the entire Renaissance era in Italy. So we always hear growing up like, oh, starving artist, or like there's no money in being creative or creative degrees or whatever. And that's another topic as far as, school and degrees go. But since creativity is connecting ideas and it's connecting process, it's just connecting things, you can absolutely make a lot of money being creative. If you think about like, what some of the best operators in business do, they connect departments. They figure out what's going to make the flow of communication better so that we can, get more results for people, or, faster response times, better customer service, et cetera, et cetera. Those are creative acts too. And the thing about creativity is what I've noticed anyway, is as I've started working on just what I want to do, I've improved at work also. So what that comes down to, what that basically means is like, creativity is a skill. You will pick it up over time and you will get better at it, but it's a skill that goes into every other area of your life, because it gives you an ability to see things from multiple perspectives rather than just the ones that are offered like right in front of you. But which now is the problem, where we've lost that skill. It's been suppressed our entire life by everybody outside of us, by society, by our parents. And although these people care, there is a reason that it does happen. And I will get into that here in a couple minutes. But the point of this is like, it's a skill. And since it is a skill, it means it can be learned and developed over time. Now, you will need feedback. You will need to put it out into the world in some capacity, whether it's showing friends, family, putting it out on the internet for strangers. Like, either way, you're going to have to improve at it, and it's going to be uncomfortable at first. But it is a skill that you can learn, and slowly over time, you will gain, at least I have gained the ability to adapt and solve my own problems in different ways that at first weren't immediately like present to me. So in my case, whenever it comes to like I put t-shirts up on Etsy just to see what happens. Like I don't really have like a big goal for it other than like I just want to figure this stuff out right now. I'm just taking a lot of action, doing a lot of things, seeing what happens and seeing what I actually enjoy rather than trying to do one specific thing that I know I hate, which I've done for years, but that's a story for another time. A couple of my shirts have gotten a decent amount of sales and gotten really good feedback. And so all that's done is that's basically given me more confidence in my abilities, knowing like, okay, I don't suck. So that's a plus. So that means like I can get a decent amount better at this probably if I just do it over a long enough time period. And so it's also led to, I just feel more fulfilled. I just feel like I'm actually doing something that means something to me. And so that is spilling over into other areas of my life. Whereas my job now, it's high volume sales. I used to get super stressed out whenever I was having kind of a bad week. And I've noticed like, as I'm recording this, I've had, a pretty slow like few weeks, but I'm not really super stressed out about it. I know like I haven't changed my processes. I know I'm continuing to, push forward and just keep doing the same things that I was doing, adapting where necessary. But like by me being creative in my own time, I've also been able to build more confidence in myself and knowing I can do this and I will consistently keep improving on it over time. I just have to be patient. I have to be patiently impatient. So why do people try to suppress these creative aspects of ourselves? The primary thing it comes down to is our brains. So our brains, we crave consistency and predictability. That's why we have so much damn anxiety. It is a survival thing that's just evolved in our brain over time, but we love predictability and consistency. Not only do we like predictability and consistency for us, we like predictability and consistency for those that we know also. That's why sometimes you could have a friend that has, quote, changed, but maybe they've grown. Maybe you guys have just grown apart and you're just uncomfortable with the fact that you've just outgrown each other or they're just different now. And it doesn't line up with the reality that you think. So your brain's going haywire like, hey, I don't like this. This isn't for me, blah, blah, blah. And so because of that, most people end up, pushing their own views onto you because they want you to stay the exact same that you are. And it might not be, it's probably not from a malicious place. They do care for you. Like I know this is the case with my family and friends and teammates and such. They cared for me, but at the same time, like they don't realize I think that they're doing this, but it just messes up everything that they thought about you and how they see you in the world. And because of that, that does affect you. And you have to first understand that because there is a sense of empathy that needs to be taken in about these people that are trying to, quote, give you advice or do things from a good place. But just because it's from a good place does not mean it's good for you. So they do this usually by setting rigid rules and expectations. It can make it difficult for, especially when we're young, to explore new ideas and take risks and try a bunch of different things because in our minds we just go, at least I did, was what the hell's the point in any of it? Like what's the point in all of it? So and then because of that, we tend to be punished for creative expression and it can make people feel like what they're doing is not enough. And because what they're doing is not enough, they have to bring you back down because if you go up, you're going to move on past them. And I think there is some sort of psychological thing where people know that and they don't want you to get to that next level, at least unconsciously. Like they may love you, but they want to also feel comfortable. So they do take it out on you. And so what happens from there is they just encourage us when we're young to just conform to the status quo, take the safe route, do the predictable things, work the job, blah, blah, blah. And it prevents us from developing our own unique perspectives on things and questioning things. And that's one of the big, problems that I think is happening in society is that we push these things that have been proven over and over again to fail, especially within the last like 15, 20 years, such as like corporate jobs, job security. Like it doesn't exist anymore. So now we've stifled a skill set that is going to make us more resilient throughout our lives. But like it's a win-win to be creative, but for whatever reason society continues to push us down and to tell you like, nope, you got to play it safe. And that is what's fucking you up so bad. Napoleon Bonaparte, quote, imagination rules the world. Now Napoleon, whether you like him as a person or not, literally took the world by storm. Like literally just demolished everybody, was conquering everything, had a massive empire. And it was because of how he thought. He was creative with his battle strategies. He did things that nobody else had thought to do before, or connected certain battle strategies in order to win. And because he wasn't predictable and because of this creativity, at least before his downfall, like he wiped the floor with everybody, even with significantly less forces than his opponents. And I think first it's important to understand, like, start to try to develop your imagination in whatever way that is. If it's daydreaming about a life that you want to live, or, a song you want to create, or art or something, you have to first start to use your imagination. And from that point, expressing that creativity comes from intention. So in the Renaissance, Florence, Italy, the Medici's goal, since they basically ran the city, was they wanted to make Florence essentially the cultural, like, art capital of the world and banking capital of the world. And the intention for doing that, which was different than everywhere else at the time, was making sure that they had all of the best artists constantly come in, do projects, all that stuff. And so now we've got, like, that changed the world because the intention of trying to make it, like, culturally progressive, I guess you could say, for the time. And now we've got a whole ass comic book series about turtles who are ninjas that are named after the painters of the time and the artists of the time. So when you go in and start to actually have an intention of being creative, that is where the actual results and expression come from, which is important because if you don't have that intention and you're just kind of creating willy-nilly, then there's no purpose behind it. And when there's no purpose, we don't get that fulfillment or meaning in it. And that's what we're after here, or at least that's what I was after. What should you actually do in order to, like, what action should you take? And that, as much as I hate to say it, is 100% up to you, but it could be writing, it could be doing like graphics, just online, Canva, Photoshop, whatever, anything like that. It could be music, it could be systems for work. I know for me, I took our CRM, like, database, our customer database for my job is pretty archaic. So I went in, I used Notion, an app taking software, made my own CRM, and it's basically saved me at least an hour of just doing stuff every time because everything is now in one place and I don't have to go to multiple screens and everything to try to find it. That in itself is a form of creativity. And if I wouldn't have started to trying to express that, I wouldn't have found that. I wouldn't have done this at this point now. So speak your mind, honest opinions. Usually, like, if you start speaking your mind, giving your opinion, and somebody gives you something that counters it, like, that's a new perspective. All of a sudden, now you have ideas to connect and you might come up with a new solution from that. And one of the biggest things that I think people should just do more of what you want to do. Like, don't worry about, I know it's super hard, like, to not be productive sometimes, because, like, I feel you, I'm $100,000 in debt right now just from student loans and COVID. And for a long time, I didn't do things because I didn't think they were worth the time, because if they didn't make money, then it wasn't worth the time. And the more I've just done things for the sake of doing them because I want to, I have made more money and I have been way more fulfilled with my life since I have started doing that. And so I think, like, there is utility in doing things just for the sake of doing them that I think many people could benefit from. And it's really helped me out, and I can't stress it enough. Like, I am so much happier than I was a year ago since I've started doing a lot of this stuff. And I actually genuinely feel like my life is going in the right direction. I know it'll take time, but it's so like freeing to know that like there really are endless opportunities, at least in, in this day and age in America. And if you're not taking it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like you're stunting your own development and growth. So I think that is probably the biggest reasons, and like why our creativity is stunted and what we can do about it. If you found any sort of value, comment, ask questions in the comments if you need to. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Dowd. And until next time, thanks.